You ever notice how some people make a lot of money and still panic every time their phone buzzes? Like one notification could ruin their entire month. Then you meet someone quieter, less flashy, but weirdly calm around money. Here's the strange part. The first person has high income. The second person has wealth. And most people think those are the same thing. They're not even close. That confusion changes entire lives. Because income is what you earn, but wealth is what you keep, without needing to perform constantly to maintain it. A lot of people are being paid well, just to stay trapped more comfortably. And honestly, that's the scary part. You can earn six figures and still secretly feel one emergency away from collapse. Millions of people do. Look, if your lifestyle disappears the moment your paycheck stops, that's not wealth. That's survival with better branding. And modern life hides this really well, especially online. Social media made income look like freedom, luxury dinners, nice apartments, new cars every 2 years. But wealth usually looks boring at first. Quiet investments, paid off debt, patience nobody claps for. Most people chase the appearance of wealth because appearance gives faster emotional rewards. That dopamine hits immediately, wealth doesn't. Wealth feels invisible in the beginning, which is why so many people avoid building it. Think about it. Buying something feels emotional now. Investing feels emotional later. And humans are terrible at valuing later. Your brain treats future you like a stranger. That's actually been studied. One study showed people emotionally disconnect from their future selves. Almost like they're different people entirely. So spending now feels easier, which explains something nobody talks about enough. Most financial problems are emotional problems first. Math comes second. Someone gets stressed. They order food, buy clothes, upgrade something, not because they need it, because relief feels urgent, even temporary relief. The purchase becomes emotional anesthesia. A tiny escape from pressure. Modern marketing understands this perfectly. That's why ads rarely sell products anymore. They sell identity, status, comfort. You deserve this. Upgrade your life. Treat yourself. And honestly, after exhausting work days, those messages hit hard because people aren't just tired physically anymore. They're emotionally drained, financially overwhelmed, so spending becomes therapy. Tiny moments of control in lives that feel chaotic. That's where things quietly spiral. A raise comes in. Relief lasts maybe 2 weeks. Then lifestyle expands to consume it. Bigger apartment, nicer car, more subscriptions, better restaurants. Income rises. Stress stays exactly the same. Sometimes it gets worse. This is called lifestyle inflation. But honestly, it feels more like a treadmill speeding up. The faster you run, the more expensive your normal becomes. And normal is dangerous because humans adapt to almost everything. That new car smell disappears emotionally faster than people expect. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. Your brain normalizes improvements quickly, then immediately wants more, which means income alone can't create peace, not if your desires grow at the same speed or faster. And this creates a weird contradiction. Some high earners secretly feel poorer than disciplined middle-income households because one person built systems, the other built appearances. Those futures separate slowly, then suddenly. According to Federal Reserve data, many Americans couldn't cover a $400 emergency comfortably, even with decent incomes. Think about how psychologically exhausting that is, working constantly while still feeling financially fragile. That pressure changes behavior. Scarcity literally affects decision-making. It narrows mental bandwidth. Financial stress makes people think shorter term. Immediate relief starts overpowering long-term logic again and again, which explains why debt becomes emotional quicksand. At first, it feels harmless until you do the math. A small monthly payment feels manageable emotionally, But accumulated payments quietly steal future freedom, month after month. Debt is weird psychologically. You barely notice the beginning. You fully feel the ending. It's like carrying weight uphill slowly. One bag feels fine. 10 bags change how you breathe. And modern systems normalize carrying the weight. Car loans, credit cards, buy now, pay later, everything. The average car payment shocked me honestly. Some people are financing status for 7 years to impress strangers for 7 seconds. And look, this isn't judgment. Most people were never taught the difference between looking rich and becoming wealthy, because society rewards visible success immediately. Nobody applauds your emergency fund. Nobody notices your index funds growing quietly. But everyone notices designer logos, expensive vacations, luxury apartments with perfect lighting online. So people unconsciously spend for social proof, not survival, not happiness, validation. And the dangerous part is validation spending never actually ends, because insecurity is a bottomless subscription. Here's where income and wealth really separate. Income depends on continued effort. Wealth keeps working after the effort stops. That changes everything psychologically. One creates pressure, the other slowly creates breathing room. A person with high income wakes up thinking, how much do I need to make this month? A wealthy person thinks differently. They think in systems, assets, time, future leverage. And honestly, most people were trained to think only about income, not ownership. School teaches people how to earn, rarely how to keep, almost never how to grow quietly. So millions become excellent workers without ever becoming financially stable emotionally. That distinction matters, because money stress isn't always about numbers. Sometimes it's about dependence, feeling trapped. If missing one paycheck changes your entire life, your nervous system never fully relaxes, even during good months. That's why some people constantly refresh banking apps. They're not checking money, they're checking safety. And this creates invisible exhaustion. The brain stays in low-level survival mode longer than people realize, which is why wealth feels different emotionally. Wealth buys time before it buys luxury. That's the part people miss. Real wealth says you can breathe for a while. And honestly, that's priceless. But the path there feels painfully slow at first. That's why most people quit early. Nothing dramatic happens immediately. Investing especially feels boring in the beginning. A few dollars, tiny gains, almost no emotional reward. Meanwhile, spending gives instant stimulation, new package, new notification, new identity boost. Humans naturally drift toward immediate emotion. That's why delayed gratification feels unnatural, even when it changes lives. Here's a weird example. Someone spends $200 every weekend trying to feel alive. Another invests that same amount quietly. At first, the spender looks happier, more exciting, more successful socially. But 10 years later, the math starts exposing the emotional pattern underneath. Invest $200 weekly at around 8% annually, and eventually it becomes hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes more. Put that same $200 into investments consistently for 30 years, and the difference can become over $500,000. That's the terrifying power of repetition. And this is what people underestimate. Small, repeated behaviors become entire futures. Quietly. Wealth rarely explodes overnight. It accumulates silently, while people are distracted by appearances, like planting trees early. At first, it just looks like dirt. Years later, it becomes shade. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but life is expensive right now. And honestly, you're right. Inflation changed people psychologically. Everything feels heavier: groceries, rent, insurance, and that creates another dangerous loop. People stop thinking long-term entirely because survival feels immediate. But this is where small systems matter most. Not dramatic changes, tiny, consistent direction shifts. Automating investments matters psychologically because it removes constant emotional negotiation. That's huge. Otherwise, every month becomes a debate. Should I save? Should I spend? Do I deserve this? Decision fatigue quietly destroys progress. Systems protect people from their emotional impulses, not just bad math. Wealthy thinking often looks boring daily, but powerful yearly, and life-changing eventually. One person increases spending with every raise, another increases investing slightly instead. That tiny fork matters. At first, the difference feels invisible. Then one person owns their time, while the other rents their lifestyle forever. And honestly, time is the real luxury everyone's chasing underneath all this. Not watches, not cars, not status symbols. People want freedom from pressure, freedom from panic, freedom from constant dependence. Wealth quietly creates options. Income alone often just creates maintenance. That distinction changes adulthood. Think about two friends. Same salary, same city, same starting point. One keeps upgrading everything publicly. The other upgrades slowly and invests consistently. Nothing dramatic. 5 years pass. Their lives still look similar online. But financially, completely different story. 10 years pass. Now one person has investments producing income. The other has expensive memories and monthly obligations. And this is the uncomfortable truth. A lot of purchases are really attempts to emotionally escape the present, escape boredom, escape insecurity, escape exhaustion, escape comparison. But wealth usually requires tolerating temporary discomfort, saying no sometimes, looking behind temporarily. That's emotionally difficult in a culture obsessed with appearances, especially when everyone broadcasts curated success constantly. But here's the hopeful part. Wealth isn't built through perfection. It's built through awareness. Once you notice your emotional spending patterns, your financial behavior starts changing differently, more consciously. And maybe that's the real difference between income and wealth. One is money passing through your hands. The other is slowly building a life that no longer controls your mind.